So hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We are super excited for you to be here for our counselor webinar series. My name is Brian Rothstein. I am Director of External Relations here at Hofstra. I am excited for you to be here and share some awesome screen time with my colleague, Julie Indra, who will share some information. I'm going to let Julie introduce herself and kind of take the floor in a hot second. Couple of reminder pieces here. We are in a webinar series format. What that means is that although you can see and hear us, unfortunately, we cannot see and hear you. So if you have any questions or anything along those lines that we're speaking about today, please feel free to use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, and we'll be happy to help answer them. I'm going to MC them out to Julie as well, so this way we can make sure that they are answered live as much as we possibly can as well. The additional thing, this is a recorded session, so if you're like, this was so helpful, but I forgot to write all this down, no worries. You can always revisit it again on our website, hofstra.edu/counselors. In addition, we have a multitude of other options of these as well for you to visit and join with us as well, usually anywhere between the 11 and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time timeframes. So definitely feel free to check back at our website and keep your eyes on your email as we'll continue to communicate with you as well. So this session that you're in today is our Student Access Services and Hofstra's Program for Academic Learning Skill, our PALS community. That's what you're going to learn about today. Awesome opportunity. Julie is one of my favorite people here at Hofstra, as she is outstanding and is such a resource to our students. Listening to the outstanding work that she does with students and her team each and every day makes such a difference, and awesome pieces for our students as well. So I'm going to turn the floor over to Julie and let Julie talk, but I'm here, so if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Julie, the floor is all yours.
Thanks, Brian. Listen, you got to stop doing this. You're making my head big.
That's all right. Anytime.
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad that you're able to join us for a brief time. I am told that I'm supposed to give you all the information I can about student access services and our programming here at Hofstra in about 30 minutes or less. So I'm going to try to do that. So the first thing, just in case some of you are not really familiar with Hofstra's history, as background, Hofstra has been welcoming and open and accessible to students of all kinds of learners for a very, very long time. It's part of our legacy. We actually were the first private university in the entire country to become wheelchair accessible. So we have had wheelchair users living on our campus and pursuing degrees at Hofstra since the late 60s, which is really a cool thing, right? So after that, we developed programming specifically geared toward supporting students with learning disabilities, ADHD, and those kinds of non-apparent disabilities. And we've had programming in place for those folks since I think 1979, 1980. So we have been really, we've been doing this for quite a long time, and we have a large population of students that are registered with our office here at Hofstra. My office, Student Access Services, is serving nearly 1,000 students this year. So we are very, very busy. I am very blessed. I have a large staff. I'd like more. Because as the student population is growing, we are finding that sometimes there's just not enough time in the day to see all of the students that want to come and see us. But the things that I really want to emphasize for you is that we have a full range of not just accommodations, but services, programming. We have psychoeducational support groups. We do cross programming with the Career Center and with the Center for University Advising. So we as staff members in SAS are fully engaged with our students in every aspect of their experience here at Hofstra. We employ at Hofstra what I refer to as a circle the wagons strategy in terms of supporting students. We want to make sure that we are all on the same page and that we are addressing all of the students' needs, because as we know, a disability is just one aspect and one dimension of an individual, and we want to make sure that we're serving the whole student. So we are in regular communication with the Student Health Center, with the Counseling Center, with the Residence Life Office, with the Career Center, with the Advising Office. So we really are providing wraparound services to our students. And having regular meetings with the leadership of our division to talk about how are we doing? How are our students doing? And I am also happy to report that our students that are registered with Student Access Services are doing really well. Every semester, I run academic success grade reports on all of the students that are registered with Student Access Services. And this past semester, and it has been a consistently upward and positive trend in terms of academic success. This past semester, 96% of the students registered with Student Access Services have over a 3.0 GPA. And so what we want to help our students understand is the key is self-advocacy and engaging in what we call help-seeking behavior, right? We want students to come and say, I'm having a problem with XYZ and I need help. We tell all of our students, if you can do that, we can help you and you can be successful here at Hofstra. So I have among my staff 3 professional learning specialists, and I will get to their primary role here in just a moment. I have 1 staff member whose sole responsibility is assistive technology and sophisticated accommodations that require a little bit more involvement, like interpreting, right? ASL for students who are deaf, or Braille for students who are blind. And her name is Vicky, and she helps students use sophisticated note-taking technology, screen reading technology. She helps all of our students that need it obtain books in alternate formats, and she helps professors turn their course materials into accessible formats. And so the learning specialists, the 3 learning specialists that work with my office, they have a very particular role. We have fee-based programs that we call comprehensive support services, the PALS program and the academic coaching program. And in those programs, students can elect to enroll in those programs, and that involves a regular one-on-one meeting throughout your history at Hofstra with a learning specialist to help you develop more effective learning strategies, more effective time management, organizational strategies, help you really with any difficulty that you might have with the self-advocacy piece, right? Talking with professors about your needs, negotiating challenging coursework that might not be in your in your wheelhouse. So that learning specialist that meets with you regularly is kind of I like to refer to it as a case manager. That person is your go-to person at Hofstra for whatever ails you, for whatever questions you have, for whatever issues you don't know who to go to. The first thing I say to our students is just come to us and we'll make sure that you get the help that you need. So the learning specialist works with the student in those programs, talks to them about how things are going in their classes, and then make sure that they are tapping into all of the other support resources on campus. So they will say to the student, so how is that history course going? And the student will say, well, I'm having, some difficulty. I had a test last week and I didn't do as well as I would have hoped. And so the learning specialist will say, let's go online in your portal and let's get you hooked up to the Center for Academic Excellence and get you a tutor for that class, right? So then we might say, so you came into Hofstra and indicated that you wanted to be a computer science major. Do you still, are you still feeling like that's where you want to go? And if you're having questions about it, if you want to talk about some other courses that you might want to try out, we're going to connect you to the Center for University Advising, and we are going to talk with you together about your course selection, about your career, your intended career path. We're going to make sure that we, with you, as the student, are at the center of this support system that becomes huge. Here at Hofstra, when a student logs into their portal, they see their success advisor in the Center for Academic Excellence. They see their advising dean in the Center for University Advising. They see their if they've declared a major, they see their faculty advisor for that major. They see their resident director if they're residing on campus. And all of those members of their support team are just a click away. And part of the role of student access services and our learning specialists is making sure that all of those folks are in communication with the student and in communication with one another about what's going on with the student, so that we can all put our heads together and make sure that this is a successful experience for the student. So we provide everything from that level of comprehensive support, right? Let's pull out your calendar and figure out what assignments you have due next week. When's your next paper due? What is your plan of action for getting that paper done, right? I see that you are slated to have a biology exam according to your syllabus in a couple of weeks. What's your game plan for studying for that biology exam, right? So this is how, this is the level of support that we're able to provide through those programs. But we also provide consultative services and referral services and general assistance to any of those 1,000 students that are registered with Student Access Services, not just the students that are enrolled in those comprehensive support programs. We really are the hub. And to demonstrate that actually physically, we are our office is in the Student Center, in the atrium, right beside the bookstore and the dining hall. And so we really are, we really meet students where they are, right? We're not an office that's hidden away in the basement in the end of a hall in some administrative building somewhere. We are out there, and we are, available to students whenever they need us and for whatever they need. We are the connective tissue for the students to the rest of the Hofstra community. And we are a safe zone. We have a lot of students that have disabilities they might have chronic episodic illnesses, right? They might just have days when they're not feeling well. They might have, some mental health challenges, and they might just wake up one morning and say, I'm just not in a good place. And they all know that all they have to do is come to our office. Sometimes students just come in and sit down on the couch in our front office and say, I'm having a bad day. And my secretary, Jackie, says, can I get you a piece of candy? Would you like a cup of coffee? Right. So we are what, I like, when I first came to Hofstra 13 years ago, I said, what I want to provide in terms of our space for our students with disabilities is one-stop shopping. And I think we have achieved it. And I'm very proud of that. So at this point, I've been talking for almost 15 minutes. So I'm going to pause for a moment and give Brian an opportunity to ask you folks if you have any particular questions that you would like me to respond to.
Thanks, Julie. I have to say, for someone who's worked in the profession for as long as you've been at Hofstra, I will say that the work that you and your team do is outstanding, and you're totally right. The fact that you are so accessible and your team is so accessible and really is where the students are makes such a difference. And you hear that, from the families, especially being someone who's out there, front lines like myself and my colleagues here in the admission office. We hear that from our families as well. And that really does make such a difference, because you do provide those services to the students, and it really makes such a difference. And that warm, inviting community that your office offers really does make such a difference. So I thank you for that each day. Looks like we have a question, so that's awesome. The question I see here is, there still room in your program for the 2023 fall, and how many students do you take each year?
That's an excellent question. Okay, so the PALS program, which is that comprehensive program that students apply to as applicants to the university, they apply to the program when they apply to Hofstra, and the answer is yes. We are right now interviewing students who have applied to the PALS program. and are looking for a spot in our PALS program, and we're conducting those interviews as we speak. And we do have space, so if there's a student that you think would be interested in that program, please do send them our way. Now, I do want to say a couple of quick things about logistics. So students apply to PALS when they apply to Hofstra, but if you have a student who has already applied to Hofstra, and possibly if they applied early, already gotten their acceptance letter, they can still apply to the PALS program by contacting the admissions office and saying, I would like to be considered for the PALS program. So what happens with admission to the PALS program is it's a parallel admission process. The admissions office, Brian and his team, are responsible for admitting students to the university. My office is responsible for admitting students to the PALS program. So when a student applies to Hofstra, we get information saying this student has indicated interest in the PALS program. They checked off that box on the Common App that says I'm interested in PALS. What happens then is that we ask the student to send their most recent evaluation materials, a psychoeducational report, neuropsych, whatever that documentation looks like, to our office, and they can do that. We have a special email address specifically for that, is pals@hofstra.edu. And we review the documentation. We review the documentation to make sure that we feel that the student's learning profile is one that would be appropriate for PALS. And then we contact the student and invite the student for a personal interview. Here's why we interview students. It's not like, like a job interview. What we're doing when we interview the students is we've already ascertained that the student is admitted to Hofstra University. We've already ascertained that they have the academic background that is the requisite for becoming part of the Hofstra community. We've looked at their documentation and we've ascertained that they have a learning disability or ADHD or have a neurodivergent profile that is one that we feel that we can assist in the PALS program. What we're doing with the interview is we are saying to the student, so tell me about yourself. Tell me about your challenges. Tell me what you're good at. Do you know what you'd like to study in college? Tell me why you want to be in the PALS program. And if the student says, I don't want to be in the PALS program, my dad says I have to. This is not someone that we want to admit to the program because there's a fee to it. And if the student says, I don't want to be in it, once they get here, they're probably not going to actively participate in our program. And we don't want to charge their parents for something that they're not going to benefit from. We also want to make sure that the student has an appropriate level of self-awareness and shows that motivation to engage in that help-seeking behavior that they're going to need in order to be successful in the college environment. So that's really what the interview is about. We usually have somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 students in each incoming class admitted to the university. We will accept up to 45. And the reason we keep the caseload fairly low is, as I mentioned earlier, I have 3 full-time learning specialists. And I want to keep their caseloads low enough so that they have enough time to meet with students and to really engage with students, particularly those first-year students. Now, PALS can be and is a 4-year program. So students can attend those weekly meetings with their learning specialist and take advantage of everything that that program has to offer, from welcome week to graduation if they want, and many do, right? So I have learning specialists who are meeting with first-year students, sophomores, juniors, seniors, even graduate students who started here as undergraduate. I'll tell you a funny story. Last year, I got an email from a young man who started a number of years ago as a first-year student at Hofstra in the PALS program. And then he excelled. He did very, very well in school, very bright kid. And he liked Hofstra and he wanted to go to law school. And he stuck around and went to Hofstra Law School. And so 7 years went by, right? He had the meetings with the learning specialist for 4 years as an undergraduate, and then he went off to law school. And then 3 years later, he emails me and says, you know, those meetings that I used to have once a week? I said, yeah. He said, well, I have to fill out all this paperwork to get my accommodations on the bar exam. Can you help me? Right. So once we get our clutches into a student, you know, they stick around often. Now, students it's up to the student after the first year, the extent to which they want to continue participating in the program, but we allow students to flow in and out of the program as they see fit, as they mature, as they grow academically. We have students that will come religiously to those meetings for the first year, and then they'll do well, and then they'll disappear. And then sometime in their junior year, when they're heavily into their major and they have a lot of research papers to write, they come back and say, you know, those meetings we used to have, can we do that again? And we always allow students the opportunity to come back to those meetings. So we let them make the decision after the first year about the level of participation that they think is necessary for them. So if you do the math, there's usually about 100 to 120 students that are PALS, you know, that are students that are in the PALS program on the campus at any given time.
Thanks so much, Julie. Awesome. And I'll be honest, you know, one of the things I love most about coming to these as well is that you learn so much more, and stories like that is what drives it home. You hear about the opportunities and the availability of your staff to help students even years later coming back and really making a difference. And that is the true testament of who we are at Hofstra. Couple things I want to note. So definitely feel free, if anyone has any questions, please continue to place them in the chat. I did put in our overall chat that you probably may have all seen our PALS email address, pals@hofstra.edu, the PALS website, which is hofstra.edu/PALS, the SAS website, which is hofstra.edu/SAS.
And I just put my email address in there.
You beat me to it, Julie. And as I say, and Julie just placed her email address in there as well. So any of us are super happy to help with any sort of questions that you have. One of the things I also wanted to recommend to you is that the PALS website and the SAS website talk in detail about a lot of what Julie talked about today. I reference point them to our students and our families very often. One of the other nice things as well is that on the on the PALS website is actually the brochure you'd receive if you came to campus today, that you would see about PALS. So if you're talking to a family and you're like, this is an awesome opportunity, I'd love for you to connect with PALS and talk to them, and you want a little bit more of the nitty-gritty detail, there actually is a PDF copy of our PALS brochure on the website. So just something to be sure to note for you and your families as well.
Thank you, everybody, for participating today. Thank you for your time and your attention. And I really mean it. Contact me if you have questions or want to chat.
Thanks, Julie. And thank you so much for spending some time with us today. Folks, as a reminder, this is recorded, so we'll get posted on our website, hofstra.edu/counselors in the next couple of days. So definitely feel free to take a peek if you've missed the beginning of our conversation, or if you have a colleague that you think would benefit from hearing about what we're learned today. As a reminder as well, we'll do a couple more of these, couple of different items, how to read a financial aid package, how to help your students make their final college decisions, and so many more. So keep your eyes and ears peeled as further information will come to you via email. Thank you so much for visiting with us here at Hofstra today. Have an awesome day, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thank
Bye,
you all.
everybody.